today. We have two. We're lucky enough to be blessed or to be joined by both Jamie and Fern. I'm going to start with Jamie. Jamie Fatheree has worked at the credit union for over 24 years and has spent the last 10 or so years in the financial wellness department. She is our financial wellness manager and is a certified credit union financial counselor. When I asked Jamie what her favorite thing about working for the credit union is, it's really about her being able to take her real life experiences and help out members. She's helped thousands of our members create spending plan strategies, budgets as you might call them, and overall improve their financial well-being. So needless to say, she's an expert in that field. Fern has worked at the credit union for almost 6 years and joined the financial wellness team just over 6 months ago. She says one of her favorite things or her greatest strengths is working with numbers, especially when they pertain to a budget or spending plan, such as the one we're going to discuss today. So, needless to say, these ladies definitely know what they're talking about. We're really lucky to have them on the call today. And at this point, I think, Fern, I'm not going to yield the floor just yet because we're going to kick things off with a polling question, right?
That is correct, Jack.
Awesome, awesome. So before I let y'all take the floor, I just wanted to bring to everyone, all of our attendees' attention that there's a poll question up, and we want to know, what are your financial goals for the year? Is it to save more money, pay off debt, invest a little bit more, buy a house or a car, or maybe you just want to have some extra spending money, but you just don't know what you want to use it for yet? So we'll give y'all about 40 seconds or so while we talk about this. Jamie, Fern, do y'all have any financial goals for the year?
Yeah, I'll jump in. For me, it's focusing on investing. So I've got the debt paid off. I've built my kind of emergency savings fund. And so now I'm really focused on investing and getting ready for retirement.
Awesome. What about you, Fern?
Jack, I'm actually in the process of building a house. So that is my goal for this year, to finish the house.
Awesome, awesome. And I know some of the things we're going to talk about today can potentially help people realize these goals. And I'm assuming y'all are proof that, following a spending plan, things of that nature are helping you guys achieve these goals, right?
Absolutely.
That's the plan. Well, let's take a look at what our attendees had to say today. It looks like an overwhelming majority said it's save more money. It looks like we've got quite a few that said that. Another smaller group, but still substantial, is to pay off debt. We're all in that boat. 7 folks said they want to invest a little bit more. And then only one person joined you, Fern, on the buy a house or car. Maybe that was you. And then a number of people said that, I want to say about 25% said to have extra spending money on the side, that sort of thing. So I'm going to be here for y'all. I know we got more polling questions and questions throughout today's webinar, but I'm going to yield the floor to Jamie and Fern. Ladies, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jack. So yeah, I think no matter what you are planning for this year, what your goals are, the point that we want to make today is that a spending plan is what's going to help you get there. So we're going to be talking about what is exactly a spending plan, why you need one. We'll go over some myths about spending plans, and of course, we'll talk about how to get started with creating one. Fern's going to talk about sinking funds and what that means. We'll go over how to make that spending plan stick once you've got it in order. And then we'll talk about some points to help you track your spending, and we'll provide some tools and resources for you to continue on this journey yourself. So first, let's talk about what exactly is a spending plan. A spending plan is a plan for how you want to spend your money. It gives you permission to spend on things that are important to you and cut back on the things that aren't. And like I mentioned, it's the foundation of any goal that you have. Now, some people call it a budget, as you'll see on that little worksheet example there. And, it's okay to call it that. We like to use the term spending plan because who doesn't like to spend money, right? I know I do. And some people, when they hear the word budget, they think of it as being something restrictive. But really, a spending plan is about giving you freedom to spend your money on the things that are important. Make sure that your values are prioritized And the things that maybe aren't as important, but still tend to take our money, those can be moved either further down the list or removed from the list completely. We're going to go right into our second poll question. Jack, you want to help us out with that?
I would if I can unmute. Check. All right. So yeah, we want to know, just before we get into the meat and potatoes of everything, how many of you on today's call have a spending plan? Maybe it's A, I don't have a spending plan at all. Maybe it's B, I have one, but I don't follow it. Or maybe it's C, you have one and you use it every month. And maybe you're just here to make sure you're reinforcing those positive habits, things of that nature. Ladies, I'm more of in the B category. I have one. I've definitely worked it. Now it's almost second nature, and I revisit my account with the spending plan in mind. Probably should revisit it. So that's kind of the camp I'm in. So I'm looking forward to what you guys share with us today so that I can understand what I'm doing wrong. Where are y'all at? Jamie?
Yeah, so I have one and I use it every month. I'm naturally a spender. So if I don't, I go off track really easy. So I've got to stick to it.
Yeah, Fern?
As a numbers person, I mean, I have one myself, and um, I look at my spending plan every day, not every month, but every day.
Good for y'all. Good for y'all. So as I said in the introductions, everyone, these people not only, talk the talk, they walk the walk. So this is just even more proof that they're the right people here today. Well, let's take a look at what everybody else said in the room. Looks like about a third said, I don't have a spending plan at all. You're in the right place. Another third said they have one, but they don't really follow it. So in the same camp as I am. And then about 15% said they have one and they use it every month. They're probably here just to make sure they're doing the right things. And then a handful of people didn't answer. That's okay. They're probably got us on in the background. But thank you all for responding. Again, these are anonymous. Just give us a pulse of the room. So I'll check in a little while, y'all. Let's see what we got on the docket today.
Right, Jack. So next thing we have here is why you need a spending plan. So whether you already use a spending plan or not, I believe everyone should have one. Here are some reasons why. A spending plan helps you gain control of your money. If you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck, you may not have good control of your money. Spending plan is going to help you prioritize how you want to spend your money. A spending plan can help you save money by helping you identify areas you can cut back on if needed. This will also help you see how much money you have towards saving or paying off debt. When you plan how to spend your money each month, you can identify how much you have to put towards debt to help you pay it off faster. Having a plan makes it easier to identify and plan for future expenses. For example, if you know your car registration is due in April, you can make adjustments necessary to your spending plan to make sure you have the cash to pay for the registration. When you have this kind of control over your money, you are empowered to reach your financial goals, and the stress that comes from financial chaos melts away. So, very important to have a spending plan, right? Especially with wanting that peace of mind that your finances are in order. So, you definitely, I feel like everyone needs one, definitely. Now, Jamie, what are some complaints you hear from members regarding a spending plan?
Definitely. In my 10 years of doing counseling, I definitely got a lot of pushback when it came to getting people to buy into this idea that they really do need to plan for their spending, right? So these are kind of the three most common, I'm going to call them myths instead of complaints, but yeah, these are the three probably most common myths that we get from members. The first one being that it's too complicated. When they think of a spending plan or a budget, they think of some kind of really complicated spreadsheet or apps, and maybe they're not really technologically savvy, so they don't feel comfortable doing that, or they may not quite trust putting their financial information into an app that they're not familiar with. So they'll say, oh, it's too complicated, I don't need to do that. But truthfully, it does not need to be complicated. Just like the title of our presentation today, it really is about money in, money out, and some really basic math, addition and subtraction. We can show you ways to keep it really simple so that you can stick to it easily. The second myth that we hear a lot is that you just don't have time to deal with it. And the thing is, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. When you initially set it up, yeah, there's a little more time because you've got to do some research to kind of figure out how much you're spending and how much you want to allot to certain categories. But once you get that part done, it takes the same amount of time that it takes to pay your bills. When you sit down to pay your bills, you pull up your spending plan at the same time, enter in the expenses for that pay period or that month, and then you're done. So really not any more time than it takes to pay your bills. The third myth that we get is it's boring. I really just don't want to deal with it. I don't like it. And here's the thing. If you're not a numbers person, like my friend Fern over here, then you might find it a little bit boring. But you know what? Paying bills is boring too, and we still have to do that. So again, if you kind of pull it up at the same time you're paying your bills, knock it out, get it done. And what you're going to find that's not boring is when you are paying all of your bills on time, you're paying off your debt, and you're finding the financial freedom that really comes with setting and keeping up with those goals. That is not boring. Definitely worth it. Let's talk about how to get started, because here's the thing that actually takes the most time, right? It's kind of the most, I'll say, quote unquote, difficult thing. Not that it's really that hard, but it does take a little bit of time. The first thing that you want to do is gather up all of your bills and your statements. These are your account statements, like your checking account statements, and your credit card statements. So you want to be able to really see where you're spending your money and get an average of how much you're spending. So maybe 2 to 3 months worth of statements will really give you a pretty good idea of where your money's going and what your priorities are. The second thing you want to do is make a list of those expenses. You can categorize them by your needs versus your wants, and the variable expenses. So variable expenses like groceries, dining out, those coffee stops, clothes shopping, stuff like that, that maybe you don't have every month, or those amounts vary. Those are the things that you want to write down. Again, categorize them by needs versus wants. So your rent or mortgage, utilities, grocery expenses would be under your need category. All of the fun stuff, vacation, clothes shopping, hair and nails, those kind of things can go under the wants category. Some people might argue some of those things are needs, but we can discuss that, And don't forget to make savings a priority, okay? Savings should actually fall under the need category. What ends up happening is people put in all of those regular expenses and then they wait to see what's left over at the end to determine how much they can save. But when we do that, often there's not anything left over to save. So you want to make sure that it is a priority. When we build a spending plan with somebody, it's always the very first thing on the list to have you go ahead and set aside. Now, the amount you set aside for that is up to you, but we want to make sure that you're setting something aside for those emergency savings. The next thing you want to do is record all sources of income. So of course, for most of us, this is going to be your regular payroll income. You may get paid once a month, twice a month. Some people are weekly, but you'll want to record what that net figure is. So after taxes, after your retirement comes out, any of those kind of deductions are removed. You're going to work with that net income that's left over. So you'll write that down and then make sure that you include anything else for the month that may be extra. So if you have a little side gig that you're bringing in some income, even if it's not super consistent, you want to make sure that you record that. We're coming up on tax return season. If you do get a tax return, you'll want to work that into your budget for the month that you receive that. So make sure that all sources of income are in there. Then, like I said before, it's basically simple math, addition and subtraction. You're going to start to subtract your expenses from your income, starting with those needs, then working down through your wants with the highest priority wants first, right? And then working your way down until you get to zero. You want to make sure that you give every dollar a purpose. When we don't, if we just leave money left over and say, hey, I've got an extra $100, great. Make that money work for you by giving it a purpose. That purpose might be savings. It might be, going towards a college fund for your kid or something, but make sure that it has a purpose so that it doesn't just disappear. And don't forget about those kind of known expenses that maybe you don't have every month, but things like birthdays and holidays, make sure you build that into your spending plan as well.
Yeah, Jamie, and there's actually a term for that, and it's called sinking funds. So, sinking funds, I want to talk about this because this was very important for me while paying off debt. Um, the sinking funds had to be there in order for me to not get back into debt, right? So, sinking funds are what you use to reach a savings goal. They're used to save for things that you know are going to happen. If you know you are going to be spending money outside of your regular budget for something, it's smart to create a sinking fund for it. That way, you can save a little bit every single month or even paycheck so you can be prepared for the expense when it comes around. Now, examples of sinking funds could be Christmas. You know, Christmas comes every year, so therefore, when Christmas does come around, a lot of people tend to get into debt or get a loan for Christmas. So it's better for you to evaluate in the beginning of the year and kind of take a look at prior year and say, how much did I spend for Christmas? And just depending on that, let's save every month for Christmas until you reach your goal. Holidays, if you have something planned, let's say July 4th, you want to make sure you save in advance for that. Birthdays, so what I would do is I would just take everyone's birthdays for the year and then kind of determine what amount you're going to spend on birthdays. Insurance, this could be auto insurance or home insurance. So I pay my insurance every 6 months. And so every 6 months, prior to the 6 months, I have my money already saved for that insurance payment to make that payment. I know you also, when saving money, you could also do the 6 months and you'll save money instead of paying it every month. That'll save you some money. Just look for a good insurance company that does that. Make sure you save for vacations. If you know you're going on a cruise or on vacation, make sure you're saving that money. And lastly, auto maintenance. You have an oil change that you got to do, so make sure you save for that, or even unplanned maintenance. So just kind of determine, an amount and stick to that amount and save it every month. And the way you calculate this is you calculate the sinking funds by taking the number you will be spending and dividing it by the months you are going to save for. For example, let's say you want to save $1,000 by Christmas and have the money by November. So you would take $1,000 divided by 11, you would have to save $91 every month. And you ask why, what does it benefit? And like I mentioned earlier, it benefits you because of the fact that you don't get into debt. So most of these categories are going to come up throughout the year. So it's smart to have a sinking fund so you don't rely on your credit card when the time rolls around, ultimately putting you into more debt or back into debt, right? So when I was paying off debt, that was one thing that I saw. Anytime I had a birthday, I had to put it on a credit card because I didn't save for it or I didn't have it that month. So that's what's really going to help you stick to your plan.
Fern, I know that I didn't know this term for it back when I was doing it, but when I was in my debt repayment plan, this really saved me. Being able to categorize the different things that I needed to save for and put just a little bit of money into each of those categories, so that when I needed to pay my car insurance, which you do get a discount with most companies if you pay the policy in full, right? So those kind of things that were not only saving me from putting it on a credit card, but also saving me money by giving me a discounted premium. It helped me so much and not or being able to focus on paying off the debt and not accruing more by having to use my credit card because I didn't plan for those expenses. So this is so important. Great, great point.
Right, Jamie. And then here, like if you want to get, because what can happen is, let's say you're saving for this and it's in your regular checking account. What can happen is you could spend that money. So you can, here at the credit union, I mean, you can open as many accounts as you want. So You can have an account for Christmas, and that's what I do. I have different accounts. So I have an account for Christmas, I have an account for insurance. So you can open accounts and save that money in there so you're not tempted to take out of it, right? Now, moving on, one of the questions we get is how do we know how much to put towards each category? We're going to talk about this pie chart here. This actually gives you a good guide. Let's start with housing. This should include your rent or mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, and utilities. You should plan to devote about 35% of your income to housing. Transportation should account for about 15% of your income and include your car payment, insurance, gas, and maintenance. Debt payments should be no more than 15% of your income. If you're paying more than this, you may be carrying too much debt. And then things like food, clothing, entertainment, and other miscellaneous expenses fall into the life category, and that should be about 25% of your income. And guys, just to let you know, I mean, a spending plan, budgeting, it sounds strict, I know, but you should also allocate some funds towards, fun money like entertainment. If you want to go to the movies next month, well, or if you want to do something once a month, maybe one month you could do something free and then the other month you could go to the movies or something. So just make sure you allocate some money towards fun money so that way when that time comes around, you have this money, you don't have to resort to debt. And most importantly, savings should be a minimum of 10%. If you could say more than that, that is actually great. Go on and do that, but it should be minimum of 10%. Now, if you find that you are spending significantly over these guidelines in any one category, you may need to make some adjustments. And if that's not possible, you will have to determine what you're willing to sacrifice in other categories in order to spend more in that area. So, you could sacrifice something, you could try to eliminate or like even like we mentioned earlier, kind of look at your expenses, right? Like your auto insurance and stuff like that. And if you save more money paying it 6 months, then try to go that route instead of every month. So that'll save you some money. Definitely call your phone company and stuff like that to also try to save yourself some money. So that way you have enough money for the other categories.
I think it's
And now,
important to, sorry, Fern, I didn't mean to
sorry, go
cut you off
ahead.
there. I would say it's important to point out that, while these are guidelines, right? So ideally, you are spending about 35% on housing, 15% on transportation, things like that. But they are guidelines. And when we're helping people create their budget, we want to base it on their priorities. So if you say, hey, I work really hard for my money and I want to enjoy it and have fun, I want 50% of my income going to my life. Okay, that's great. But are you going to have the cash car that you don't have a car payment on, or take public transportation to give up that 15% maybe that's going towards transportation? Or are you willing to have some roommates so you cut down your housing, whatever it is? The priorities and how much you spend on each of these categories is up to you, but these kind of give you those general guidelines if you're just not sure where you should be or where you're at.
Right, that is correct, Jamie. So we're gonna move on now to questions. Jack, do you see
Indeed.
any questions in there?
I don't see a ton right now, but I do want to remind everybody, if you do have questions for Jamie, Fern, or anybody on the call here today, go ahead and jot those down in your Q&A. A lot of times we don't get them until we give the opportunity. So I'm going to kill a little bit of time here, and just, if you don't mind, I just want to say this is the first time I've heard y'all talk a little bit about the sinking funds. And I got to give it to you. Like, that is where I struggle the most. So I talked about earlier that I have a budget, but I don't look at it regularly. And where I do get in trouble is those long-term, big payments. Like you said, your auto insurance, maybe, if you do your own escrow, the taxes, that sort of thing. And so whenever I talk to people about, spending plans and budgets, I always encourage them, take as big of a sample size as you possibly can so that you make sure that you include some of those other costs. And I tell you what, Christmas is the one that gets me the worst. I got the auto insurance, I got the mortgage and, taxes, things like that. But gosh darn it, every year without fail, I'm looking at my account and going, well, I sure hope that my parents give me a check for Christmas to pay for all this. And then I look at my sister who's so intentional about it and has a specific budget for every family member, like I'm going to spend $100 on this person, 50 on this person, but it's helped her and it's helped her husband and her kids and everybody. So we do have questions now, but I just want to acknowledge and say thank you for covering that. I've already learned something today, and I hope that all of our attendees took that to heart as well.
Jack, I want to mention something while you're saying that. So actually, you should also have a budget for Christmas, like you're talking about
Oh
your
yeah.
sister. So, it would be your regular budget, but you should also have a Christmas budget. Because if you think about it, spending on food and Christmas presents and decorations and all of that adds up. So definitely having a budget for Christmas is definitely gonna help you.
Absolutely. I plan on starting that right away because, like you said, it'll be here before we know it. And I want to make sure that I don't take that whole hit at a later date. So thank you for that tip. I appreciate it, Fern. Got a question here for y'all. What are your thoughts on, say, cutting down 401k investment or savings in general, maybe retirement savings, if you're trying to pay off debt and save even more?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a general idea out there that if you are carrying debt, you want to try to get that paid off first. So either cut back, or in some cases, some people will cut it all completely. I don't like to do that. I don't want to leave money on the table if there's a match, right? So maybe contribute up to your match. And then anything additional above that, go ahead and put that towards debt. Knock it out as fast as possible. And then you'll have even more money. Because if you take, what you're paying toward the extra you're paying on the debt plus those other debt payments, and then start putting that towards retirement, you're going to build it up faster and kind of make up for the lost time there. You just have to be really intentional so you're not missing out on the opportunity to invest for your future as well.
Right. And for this question, if I might add, Jamie, there's paying off debt and then saving more. I think it boils down to giving every dollar a purpose. So if your goal is to pay off debt, then you're giving dollar purposes for that. And then, like you said earlier, it's a need to have savings, right? You need to discipline yourself to put that money aside. Now, savings can be interpreted a number of different ways. It can be personal savings, it could be emergency savings, it could be retirement savings. So I think that the takeaway there, at least for me, and the chart that y'all threw up earlier, is it's important that you allocate a certain percentage towards savings. It's up to you to define, what sub savings account you want to use that for. And then I have to just get on my soapbox as well, Jamie. Y'all, if you're not doing your company match for your 401k, please look into that. Look into, for American with Fidelity, look into your plan rules. Please don't leave money on the table. You're only stepping over a dollar to pick up a dime in that kind of situation. So another question here. We got two or three more. So we'll try to get these real quick. Are we able to make accounts where we aren't able to touch the money, like at the credit union, for example? Or are we only able to withdraw money if we go to a credit union in person? In other words, is there a way you can put like a safety lock on an account at the credit union?
Yeah, so we do have like the share certificates, right? It's going to make it a little bit harder because there's some penalties if you take it out before you're supposed to. But one of the tricks that I utilize is I use the regular savings accounts, right? So I have all the regular savings accounts, but on my online app, I can actually hide those from myself so I don't see them. I have direct deposits going to them, so I don't even have to think about it. Out of sight, out of mind. And then I know it's there if I really truly need it, but I'm not seeing it every day. So the temptation has been removed. Fern, do you have anything to
Awesome.
add to that?
I see mine, but I've been so strict with myself for so many years. After you do it for so long, it's like it's not there. So yes, in the beginning, like Jamie said, go ahead, try to hide those. But once you've done it for some time, you could unhide, and then you won't be tempted to take it.
Yeah, it's about making those. So what I'm hearing from you, Fern, is it's about establishing those habits, right?
Right.
And I think Jamie's was maybe how do you establish those habits? And then once you do, maybe you give yourself a little bit more leeway to understand what's there. So I think those are both great tips. So thank you for that, y'all. Moving on to the next one. Do you recommend, you were talking about paying down debt, and that has come up. Do you recommend the snowball method, or should a person pay the lowest balance first, or the one with the highest interest rate first? No, there's a number of, and that may be a whole different webinar topic. And shameless plug, it is. But do y'all have any thoughts real quick on how to kind of balance your debt repayment and what methodology works best for y'all?
Do you want to
I can go first. So what I used was the debt snowball method, but it is a case by case basis. Because when I look at members' accounts and stuff like that, if they're paying 0% interest on something, I'm not going to make them pay that first. I would actually look at everything else and then do this snowball method on everything else. So that kind of like a hybrid of debt snowball and then interest as well.
What about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big advocate of the debt snowball. As Jackie, you've been on that webinar, the debt payoff webinar, which actually I think we just did in February. But yes, I use the debt snowball method for myself. I find it's more motivational to knock out those smaller balances, gives you those little wins faster. But I think as long as you are paying off debt and you're working a system, whichever one works best for you, then you're winning, right?
You know which one I like, right?
I do.
That's the debt avalanche, right? Where you put your debt in order of highest interest rate. For me, Fern likes numbers. I like numbers. I just like them a little bit differently, I guess. I like the idea of I'm getting the best value out of that. But I think the major takeaway, and we're all in agreement here, is finding what works for you, what motivates you, and what you can stick to. So bravo. We got two more real quick, and then for the sake of time, we'll move on. And if we have time at the end, we'll get to some more questions. Just a quick comment here from Sandra. I love this, including yourself in the budget. In the book, Think and Grow Rich, the author talked about paying yourself first in some ways because you worked for it. So yeah, I think that's a great takeaway. I'm glad that y'all brought that up for the attendees here today. Last question for the time being. There's a scenario here where their child's college tuition runs about 30% of their salary. It seems much higher than the allocations you maybe mentioned, like the guidelines. Is that normal? And do you have any suggestions on how to save for college or to combat those high tuition expenses that we're seeing today?
Yeah, I think, that's tough. And there's lots of different thoughts. Again, we could probably do a whole webinar on paying for school. But I think the key is if you're able to start early, as soon as they have that social and you can open an account for them, that's the time to start saving for college. But if it's already too late for that and you're there, then you have to start looking at, is it feasible for you to continue to do 30% of your income to pay for your child's education, or do they need to carry some of that load? That's a discussion for you and your family. Or is there, student loans and that kind of thing. So you don't want to, lose the roof over your head while you're trying to pay for your kids' college. But if that's the priority for you, then you've got to balance some things other places, just like we were talking about with that pie chart. It's all about priorities and then rebalancing things based on those priorities.
Yeah. Just a quick little note. When I went to college, I had those conversations with my parents. I came in thinking, oh, it's going to get taken care of. And I found out that they weren't willing to sacrifice everything for me to get my education. So I had to pick up full-time jobs. I had to give plasma. I had to apply for scholarships that I probably wouldn't have been motivated to apply for. And yes, they helped. I'm not saying I was handed a silver spoon, and I'm not saying that I pulled myself up entirely by my own bootstraps, but they made it very clear, because I had a sister that was 1 year younger, they couldn't afford both of us. They straight up couldn't. And it would be digging into their retirement monies, and they didn't want to work longer. So it may be uncomfortable, but sometimes those conversations are important to have. And it's very personal. So that's why we're not going to sit here and say you have to do it this way. But it is about those priorities, right, Jamie?
Great point,
Awesome.
Jack, actually. I mean, I was gonna say to other sources of income. I mean, you know, maybe the college student can work, or maybe if you're not willing to allow your student or your child to work, maybe you'll probably have another source of income. So
Right. Awesome. Well, I'm going to yield the floor back to you all. We got a number of other topics to cover, and we got 22 minutes. So take it away. Great questions, y'all.
Keep them coming. So let's talk about how to make that budget stick. So you've got your spending plan in order, right? You know how much you're going to be spending on all of the different categories, but how do you actually put that into action and make it work for you? I think we all know if you create this thing and then stick it in a drawer and kind of forget about it, then you're going to go off track. At least I know I will. That's why I have to continue to look at mine every month. So we want to put some plans into action to actually make these things stick, right? So the first thing that you can do, and that I utilize quite a bit, is direct deposits. I mentioned that I have those multiple savings accounts, or the sinking funds like Fern was talking about, where I have different accounts for, car maintenance, home maintenance, vacations, and holidays and birthdays. And I set up direct deposits into those accounts, kind of like a little electronic envelope system, to hold cash for those things. Sure, you could put it all into one savings. That's fine too, but it's easier for me if I know exactly where those funds are allocated. I'm much less likely to dig into them for other purposes. So utilize direct deposit if you're able. The other thing is to pay bills the day that you get paid instead of when they're due. This was key for me when I was first starting out with my spending plan and going into my debt payoff plan. Instead of waiting to due dates, I would just, the day I got paid, gosh, I'm stumbling over my words today. So the day that I got paid, I would go ahead and pull up my spending plan, and I would pay any bills that were due between that day and the day before my next pay period. One, this meant that I didn't have to look at my spending plan or my budget constantly, right? It was kind of twice a month when I got paid. And I never missed due dates, so I eliminated the fear of late payments or late fees. And three, I was able to see how much I had left for those variable expenses, like going out to eat, grocery shopping, all of that stuff. So I knew the bills were taken care of, and this was the amount of cash I had left to work with until the next pay period. Made it so much easier for me to stay on track and not accrue more debt by having to use the credit cards. If you find that using your debit card is a little too tempting, or those credit cards are just a little too easy to swipe, try using cash when possible, especially for those variable budget expenses, again, like dining out or grocery shopping. If you know that you're allotting yourself $300 a month for grocery shopping, you might, go ahead and pull that out when you get paid, and then that's all you take with you to the grocery store. So it's going to kind of force you to stay within the limit that you've set for yourself. Another thing that makes it a little bit easier is to break it down. So set that budget for those variable expenses. Like I was just mentioning, the $300 for groceries. If it's $300 a month, then that's $150 per pay period, assuming that you get paid twice a month. And that's what you're going to pull out, or that you're going to plan to spend for that pay period. Breaking it down into those smaller kind of bite-size pieces is going to make it easier for you to stay on track as well. Another tip is, I would say, involve your family. If you are married, or if you have a partner that you share expenses with, include them. You guys need to be having regular meetings to go over your finances. You should be sitting together to create the initial spending plan to make sure that you're on the same page. What we see a lot of times with couples is that one person kind of handles all the finances and the other person just spends whatever they're told they're allowed to spend. And sometimes that can create some resentment because they're not necessarily on the same page goal-wise. So make sure that your family member's included, even if you're the one who's actually physically paying the bills. Make sure that they just kind of know what's going on. Also include your kids. You don't need to include them in the little nitty-gritty, stressful details. They don't need to know if things don't quite stretch to the end of the month or anything like that, but do include them in some little decisions. and let them see you working your budget and talk about your budget so that they learn these good habits themselves as they get older. They're going to learn from watching you. So you want them to catch you doing the good stuff so that they do that as well. When it comes to planning vacations or holidays and you're building a budget around those specific things, include them and make it fun. Create a little chart that you keep on your refrigerator or something that, every time you guys add to that vacation budget, you might have a little picture of where it is that you're going at the top, and you color in blocks until you get there. They get to have fun with it and learn a good lesson at the same time. So include them. Be okay with saying no. No to yourself, no to coworkers or friends, and of course, no to your kids when they're asking for things that are outside the budget. So if you have already spent your dining out budget for the month, but your coworker is asking if you want to go out to lunch, you may have to be okay with saying no. You can't do it this time, but hey, let's plan for it after the first of the month when I've kind of got a fresh budget again. Then you can go at that time. Or if your kids are like mine and they're constantly asking for V-Bucks for their Fortnite game, then you have to be able to say, hey, you were allotted this amount for the month. You've already spent it, so you're going to have to wait. Or maybe it's an opportunity for them to do some things to earn additional money to be able to spend on that. But make sure you're setting up those kind of parameters or boundaries with people. Most importantly, with the spending plan is that you have to actually keep track of your spending, right? So it's great if you say, okay, I'm going to spend $300 a month on groceries, but if you're not actually tracking that to make sure that you're staying within that guideline, then it's going to be really easy to go off track. So you're going to want to use either an app or a spreadsheet or even a notebook where you're just writing it down, how much you're spending, especially on those variable things. Sometimes those are the ones that add up and really kind of become budget busters, so to speak. You might think, oh, $5 for a cup of coffee, not a big deal. But if you do that a couple times a month, that could really eat into a specific budget. So if you're not counting for that, it could kind of create some problems. So make sure that you are tracking. Fern, do you have some more tips on what people can do to track their spending?
I do actually. So, like Jamie mentioned, track your spending. Very, very important. That is the key to succeed with your spending plan. So that will keep you on the right path. And a couple things here regarding your spending and tracking. Make sure you're proactive. Plot out known expenses in your monthly spending plan. For example, if you know next month you are going to go to a birthday party, just make sure that you plan to spend on a gift. Want to make sure that you know prior to next month. So like let's say right now you're getting ready to create your spending plan from next month. What's going on next month? And so allocate your income towards those expenses. Keep receipts and add up expenses weekly, then record them in your spending plan. If you do record weekly, it will be easier to stay on track. So if let's say you forget and you don't record the whole month, you're going to spend a lot of time recording and tracking your expenses. So if you do it by week, it's going to be a lot easier and less time spent. Since I am a numbers person, I actually like to record my expenses daily. I know that's a little crazy, but if you can, it's just I'm not kidding you. It takes a couple of minutes. I use an app, but I just go in there real quick and categorize everything, and then I'm done. A couple minutes, maybe seconds. Use an app, spreadsheet, or notebook to help you keep track. Reach out to us if you need to find a solution to help you stay on track. Everyone is different, so we can help you identify what tracking mechanism is best for you. So when I look at members when I am doing my sessions, I kind of ask questions. What type of person they are. Do they like spreadsheets? Are they pen and paper? So when I ask these questions, it's going to help me determine what spending plan it would be best for them. And I have different spending plans created that I use towards members. And so if that doesn't work, just keep in mind it might not work. So if that doesn't work, then we move on to something else, right? And so kind of keep, but the most important thing is, keep track of everything. Um, Rebalance. If you spend more than intended on a planned expense, make sure you rebalance. If you plan to spend $500 at the grocery store, but you ended up spending more, you would need to revisit and rebalance everything. Okay. We're gonna go
Real
ahead
quick,
and
Fern, what was
take
the
a
name of some of the apps or anything that you might suggest to help with the budgeting or with the work with the spending plan?
So the one I like to use is Mint, and it's free. It's free, and I connect all my banking information. I've used it for probably 7, 8 years, so I've never had any problems with it. It's the same creator of TurboTax and QuickBooks and stuff, so they're very, very, their security is very, very good. Um, there's also Every Dollar by Dave Ramsey, and I don't use that because it charges me every month, and I don't want it. I don't want to pay. Now, it just really depends, right? Because like I said, everybody is different. Like I like Mint. My sister's tried Mint. She doesn't like it, but she likes Every Dollar. So she's gonna pay for that. And so that's just something that I would not pay for. But we also have an online app, which Jamie's gonna touch base on that a little bit here later on. Um, but yes, everyone is different, so everyone's going to use something different.
Roger that. Thank you very much.
We're going to move on, Jack, to our final, actually. This is our final poll question.
It is. So we've covered most everything as far as just the idea of spending plans and whether or not they're the right thing for you and basic knowledge, you name it. So we want to just check in with you now that we've gotten through most of our presentation. Stay tuned, there's more. How do you feel about having a spending plan now? Maybe you're one of the ones that have one already and you're going to continue using the one you have. Maybe you've been inspired and motivated to get one started. Maybe you're still a little on the fence and you need help creating one, or maybe you're just, this isn't for you. You're not convinced that it'll help you in any way. So please take the time to submit your answer, get a little bit of a pulse of the room of how everyone's feeling. Any guesses, Fern, on what we're going to see?
I don't know. I think
I'm
that
I'm hoping it's not D.
I'm hoping it's not D myself.
I think everyone's going to be excited to get started, but
Well,
we can hope.
We can hope. All right. So we've got the poll submissions are in, and it looks like about a third said they're going to continue to use the one they have. 17% said they can't wait to get started. Another 20% said they may need a little bit of help creating one. Nobody said that they weren't convinced. So that's good. You've done your work, ladies. A handful of people didn't respond, but sounds like that you've at least got the wheels turning for everyone. And Jamie, I know that you're going to now talk a little bit about some of the resources that our members might have, right?
Yes, and I'm glad to see that nobody said that they were not convinced. But even if you aren't, and maybe you just were too afraid to answer that, I would just implore you to give us 3 months. Give us 3 months to work with you, help you structure a spending plan, or if you're one of those people who need that little boost of help, let us help you create that. And then work it for 3 months. Again, you may find that what we suggest at first doesn't work, and then we try something else, right? So like Fern said, she's got a couple different spending plans that she uses with members. I know I have one that I've used with members. I had a member who, I'm a spreadsheets person, and so that's what makes sense to me. But I had a member who just could not get it. It wasn't clicking with her. She tried desperately, and she ended up kind of coming up with her own system using her Outlook calendar. And she plots out when her bills are due, and she sets herself reminders and all of these things. And it's been great. We've been working together for over a year, and she has kept up with it. So we will continue to work with you to find out what works for you. But we would ask that you give us 3 months of really trying it out. And if you don't experience any change whatsoever, I don't think that'll happen, but maybe we'll concede at that point, or we'll keep, trying to get you to try something. But either way, we would love the opportunity to help you. If you want to kind of work on some things yourself, we do have some tools and resources that you can kind of explore and see what works for you. The first one is just our website, financialwellness.aacreditunion.org. That's going to tell you a little bit more about our department, as well as give you the link to set up an appointment with us if you want to do that. All of our meetings with counselors are by appointment, so that we can make sure you have our undivided attention. So you can find that there on that website. The second one you see there is called the Navigator, navigator.aacreditunion.org, and that is an online financial wellness tool. There is a budgeting app built into that program that you can explore. There's also lots of articles on, how to create budgets and spending plans, how to pay off debt, paying for college tuition, all of these things that we've kind of talked about and gotten questions from you guys about. You can explore it in the Navigator. It is free. You create your little account. You're not going to get spammed with a bunch of stuff, but there's no cost to you. You get to explore articles, videos, courses, games, and I believe this is the last month that you do have a chance to win. Is it $1,000, Jack? Did I hear that right? $1,000 that you can win by signing up and doing a course through the Navigator. So check that out. The third one you see here, savvymoney.com/AACU, that is our credit monitoring tool. Also a free tool for you so that you can monitor your TransUnion credit report and score. Super important, especially in this day of age where fraud is, running rampant. You want to keep an eye on your credit to make sure that nobody is using your identity, or that you have maybe accidentally missed payments or anything like that. That'll keep track, see how financially healthy you are there, at least credit-wise. And as Fern mentioned, we do have an app built into our online banking. So you are able to go in and connect accounts that are even outside the credit union, and it will monitor transactions for you. You can prioritize things and set reminders so that I believe you're notified when you're getting close to a certain spending goal. So it's pretty cool, pretty interactive. You can go in and set that up. Again, it's completely free. So those are some tools and resources you can use on your own. But Fern, if you don't mind switching screens here, we'll talk about the financial wellness team and kind of what we can do for you if you need that little bit of extra help or one-on-one kind of personalized assistance. We do have 5 certified credit union financial counselors, 6 if you include me, but as a manager, I don't see too many members anymore, but 5 that are kind of standing by waiting to make appointments with you. They are experts in financial assistance for bruised credit situations. So if you had some little bumps and bruises, maybe some financial crises that you've gotten through, but now your credit needs to recover, they can kind of help give you some tips on how you can improve your credit score and report. Advanced Financial Indebtedness Solutions Assistance. That is a fancy way of saying debt payoff. They can help you with that debt payoff plan, utilizing a spending plan to help you prioritize your spending and allocate funds towards debt payoff. And then the main thing is that we provide continuous accountability, support, and guidance. And through educational seminars and webinars throughout the year, as well as those one-on-one appointments. You'll find our phone number and email address there, and we'll pop that back up here at the end after Jack gets a chance to talk about a couple of things before we go back to questions.
Sure that. So I do want to just highlight a few things real quick, credit union wise. So consider this a public service announcement of sorts. First of all, for anyone on the call today that may not yet be a member, go ahead and jot down this promo code. It's BD, B as in boy, D as in dog, 4412. If you're going online at join.aacredit.org or dropping by a branch, if you provide that promo code at the very end of your application, we'll credit your initial new member deposit of $6, so you literally have nothing to lose. Now, I know a number of the folks on the call today are probably already members, so I do want to highlight a few promotions we have going until the end of the month. First of all, as you're looking at different ways to increase that monthly cash flow, a couple options may be our vehicle loans. We love doing refis. We're as low as 3.75% APR. And right now we are doing up to a 0.5% loan reduction. depending on direct deposit, loan loyalty, new members, etc. So be sure to check that out. It never hurts to ask, is what I always say. And we've got some great rates out there. The other way you might be able to increase your monthly cash flow is by eliminating high interest debt. So we talked about credit cards and repaying debt and things of that nature. Well, one strategy that you can employ is transferring the balances you have there from a high rate card to a low rate card with a credit union. Right now, our platinum low rate credit card, if you transfer a balance to it, not only do you have 0% transfer of balance fees, but you can enjoy 0% interest for the next 6 billing cycles. Not only that, but thereafter, we have some of the lowest rates in the game. It is dependent upon the Fed and the prime rate. However, compared to the market, our low rate credit card is a phenomenal product. The last thing I'll point out as far as our current offers go is if you open up a new checking account, this could be a youth checking, a priority checking, business checking, flagship checking, you name it, and you spend $25 in the first 60 days, we'll reimburse you another $25. So those are just some things that you can check out on our website. The easiest way to find out about all of our current promotions is to go to aacreditunion.org/offers. Now, the ones I mentioned, they expire at the end of the month. So take advantage if anything piqued your interest. The other promo that we have ongoing is the ability for you to refer family and coworkers and earn $25 for each referral. So to learn more about that, go to aacreditunion.org/refer25, and the buzzword promo code is refer25. They'll put that in on their application, and you can take advantage of that up to 10 times a year for a total of $250. So I'm taking a look at the questions here, and we don't have any new ones, which is great because we're about 30 seconds away from our time. But if you have any questions, y'all, I do want to remind you the survey's coming out, and especially if it's more personal in nature, you're going to want to submit that survey so you can visit with our fine folks like Fern, Jamie, anyone on their team, or basically any questions you have about the credit union products and services, we'd be happy to help you out with. Let me move here. So I'll put up after this little spiel, the contact information for Jamie, Fern, and their department. But I do want to highlight that we have all of our upcoming webinar topics for April and the rest of March posted online. We also have a Drive and Save Auto event coming up in April where you can defer your payments for 90 days, get 0.5% discount off your loan rate, and actually enter to win $1,000 in principal payments towards your car loan. So if you take a loan out in April and you enter to win, you could have $1,000 to help reduce that debt. We also have a Florida spring car sale event. It's posted at the events page as well. It's happening the week of April 10th through 16th, as well as a live version of that in person at our Miami Blue Lagoon branch on April 15th and 16th. Again, check out the events page. We've got all of this and more for you to get more involved and continue to increase your financial wellness acumen. So with that said, I think we're down to the social media plug. Make sure you follow us there, y'all. We've got a lot of helpful tips, what's coming up in the webinar space, event space, etc. We try not to sell on those channels, but give us a follow, say hi, engage a little bit. We'd love to hear from you in those channels. So I'm going to put up the contact information one last time. And as a reminder, we can send you a copy of today's presentation if you request it in the survey. That should be in your email boxes right now. With that said, we are done. So on behalf of Jamie, Fern, myself, Butel, Sarah, everybody at the credit union, we hope you are having a great year so far. We want to say thank you for spending some time to invest in your own financial future. Please stay safe, healthy, and happy out there. Jamie and Fern, is there anything else that y'all want to add?
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.